Last week we talked about the MLS and running comps and comparing properties and how to search and so on. I want to kind of go into that just a little bit more today, but then I want to actually do a CMA, okay? And we're going to start from the beginning and go to the end. The only thing I have pre-done is I have a picture of the house on my desktop. So when you do a CMA, have a picture of the house, the subject property, on your desktop, right? And you can get it from an old MLS listing. You can go to Google Earth and take a picture and steal the picture. You can get a picture, or you can drive by the house and take a picture. If you don't take a picture, it's going to show a little map on there, and it's far less personal. The more personal you can make it, the more impact it has. So, Maribel, we didn't go to Victorville to get a picture of that house, did we? No, but we had a picture on your CMA, right? Mm-hmm. Did anybody go home and practice doing a CMA last week? Or did anybody practice searching for properties?
Yeah, a little bit.
If not, you should be, whether you're working with buyers or you're working with sellers, you need to be able to determine market value. What's market value? It's what similar properties have sold for recently. So, first thing is the location, second thing, square footage of the house, third thing, condition and amenities. So number one thing goes to value is the location. So you should be searching for values, paying attention to school districts, train tracks running by the house, large businesses, apartment complexes that are very nearby the house, things impact value positively or negatively. And sometimes there's not an exact number for those things, but you know that if it sits right next to the Metrolink, it's going to have some effect on the value of the house. The same house a few blocks away would be worth a little bit more. And sometimes that's the most that you know. It's probably not an exact answer. So we're going to let's comp a house in the 911. In fact, maybe I can show you the house. Yeah, I'll show you the house here, and then we'll run the comps on the house. Let's comp this house right here. Right? We know this house is 1,576 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. We know it's a pending sale because I have it in escrow. Again, we'll talk about that, Chastity. See, we got a nice. See, you want to see what a listing is supposed to look like? This is what it's supposed to look like. 3 and 2. It's got the full description. It's got a nice description of the property. It talks about school district. It talks about located proximity to freeways and such. All the information's here. Highest and best offers. Make sure you put your email in there clearly so they can send it to you. I want it with an RPA, pre-qualified codes, and proof of funds. That's what a listing says. So we're going to comp. Let's see what this house is really worth. Let's take a look at it. It's got a pretty good curb appeal. This is the entryway. Living room. It's a step-down living room. 2 steps to get in the living room. Fireplace, patio right out here. It does have newer dual-pane windows. It has newer central air and newer heat. It's fairly basic. So the builder quality counters and so on. It's got carpet over top of hardwood floors. Again, the other bathroom, fairly basic. Kitchen, nice and clean, but it's probably 70s style. You can see it here. It's got copper plumbing, inside laundry, nice clean backyard. There's your porch. And the new air conditioner over the side. View of the street. All the houses around that house are of a similar caliber. Nice little neighborhood. So what is this house worth? What are we going to search? Well, we know where it's at. It's a 91724 zip code. It doesn't seem to sit on any train tracks. It's not across from a school. We know it's in the Charter Oak School District, as I told you. And if you didn't know, you can come and click on this APN number, right? Click on the APN number, and oh, there it is, School District Charter Oak. It's right there. You don't have to go look it up someplace else. It's right there. And this has got various other information on it too. Tax information and so on, last sale. Coming back to this, so this house is 1,576 square feet. So let's search. Residential detail. We're going to look for closed sales because that's where you get market value from. What's sold recently, single family residence. We know we want to be in a 91724 zip code. What was it? It was 1574. So let's put the living area in there of 1476 actually to 1676. 100 below and 100 over. We'll start there. We may have to narrow it down, or we may have to widen it out to get enough comps. You need to have about 6 comps to get a good value. You only have 2 or 3, you don't really know what happened with each of those sales. It doesn't tell the full story. So you need to have a few comps. And there's ways of getting more. You can go back farther. You can widen your geographic area. You can widen the square footage of the house, or do the opposite to get fewer, right? So I like to start with just putting in the square footage and a zip code and just see how many there are. Let's take a look. Oh look, we got 20. Do we need 20? Now let's look at these. The subject property was 3-bedroom, and about a third of these are 4-bedrooms. So we might be able to get rid of some of them just by putting in 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. Now let's take a look. See, we narrowed it down to be more specific, and we have less, right? Now, then what I'll do is I'll come to map. I'll come to map. Here we go. And let's see where they're at. Now, let's see, where is the subject property? The subject property is right here. Okay? So these here are the closest. These are a little farther away. Let's see if there's a big difference in price to location. So we can come over here. 580, 555, 538. Come over here. 470, that was a lot lower. 505, a little lower. 550, 489, 529. Very honestly, I don't know that it changed. It changed, but from here to from one side to the other, I don't know that it changed a whole lot. So geographically, I only see one on here that would be a problem, and that's the one down here, right? You know, because that's Covina, as you're coming into Covina Hills. I happen to know, because I live in Covina, that that's a more exclusive area. And I can see that it's 580, and the rest of these are quite a bit less, right? So I probably want to get rid of that one for starters. So let's do that. Let's come back to results. And let's get rid of that 580. Which one was it? It was Walnut Creek. Let's get rid of that one right now. Okay, fine, discard. Okay, now we're down to 8. There's a good chance I'll get rid of the high one and the low one, but let's take a look at it. You've seen the subject property, right? Okay, let's take a look at this. It's inside a subdivision like ours is. It doesn't seem to be, you know, on any railroad. Well, yeah, look, that's railroad tracks right there. See them? That's railroad tracks right there. So this one sits a couple houses away from railroad tracks, right? That probably costs you at least $10,000, maybe $20,000, depending. And again, it's Metrolink, so it's not big freight trains, but it's still Metrolink. There's only about a house between this one and the train. It's got a nice wide concrete driveway. That's good. Okay. It's got granite. Cabinets aren't new, but they're not the old ones either. It's kind of dated. It's got carpet. Looks like older carpet. It's a little run down. I don't know what that picture is for. In any case, this is the lowest priced one at $470. Now remember, if the train wasn't there, it'd probably be like $490, right? And then the carpet and those kind of things bring it down. It's not been updated, and it's kind of run down a little bit. Let's go to the next one. Again, one house does not tell the story. Okay. This one, I don't know where the grass went, but the curb appeal is all right. It's got asphalt driveway, which is a little less value. Not a big thing. I think it's got older windows. We'll see when we open up the pictures. And let me see. It's not on. It's farther away from the train. You got the train's on the other side of the park, so it's farther away from the train. So that's probably not a big problem. Let's take a look at the house. Okay, yes, it is older windows. And you come in, and it's kind of dated, and yeah, it's definitely dated, carpet and tile, and somewhat run down. Can't tell, it doesn't tell the whole story, but it's definitely not as nice as the subject property, right?
Right.
So let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this house is at 505, 3 and 2. It is a little larger. Let's take a look. It's got tile floors. I can't tell if those are new windows or not yet. Notice the roof, the ceiling. It looks nice, but what else does that tell you?
It's hot.
Because there's no attic.
Because
Okay.
what?
It's hot, yeah. No, during the summer it's hot.
These
Because
houses,
there's no roof?
Because it's open like that.
see, what, if you look at this house, look at how flat the roof is,
There's no
and you
roof,
come
yeah.
inside, there's no attic space. So what that tells you is it's harder to heat and cool the house. And in California, that makes a difference, especially with the heat in California. With no attic space, it's harder, it gets hot faster. It just does, right? If you have an attic space and insulation between you and the roof, it doesn't get nearly as hot in the house. So what I'm telling you is these houses without the attic space are worth a little bit less than a similar house with an attic space.
How do we know that they don't have no attic? They show.
Look at it. Look
It's
how
enough
flat the
room.
roof is, and then look how the ceiling goes up. You've been in a lot of houses like that, I'm sure.
But the new buyer, the new buyer can make new roof with attic or not?
Not easily. Very expensive.
You'd have a really low ceiling.
Yeah, and you can put insulated pads up there, and then put wood on top of them. You can do that, but it's kind of expensive, and it almost does the same job.
Does it have air conditioning?
Well, I don't know. Let me see if we see anything.
Oh, very good to tell. I didn't know.
Yeah,
I
see
didn't know.
see the ceiling there? And this is a nice one. Sometimes they're just white. But you can recognize them. Kitchens, look, they've got, it looks like, I don't know, some kind of tiles. It's not as good as granite, but it's okay. Builder quality. It's got some hardwood here. Backyard. And it's apparently okay. This was sold for 505. What's next? Okay, this is looking a little nicer. The curb appeal is. But what do you don't see? You don't see a garage. I'm betting it's alley access. Some people don't like alley access. I don't think it's bad, but you know what? Some people, so if there's a smaller market for it, it could bring the value down just a little bit. Let's take a look at this one. This one's almost exactly the same size, 3 and 2. It's sold for $529. It is on a busy street. Do you understand? It's right on Glendora. If it's right on Glendora or it's back in the subdivision, which one's going to be worth more? One back in the subdivision. The kids don't run out the street and get hit by the bit of the car. You don't hear the traffic noise as much, those kind of things. You're going to get less money. The two houses are exactly the same. One's back in the subdivision, one's on the main street, Grand Avenue, Glendora, Barranca. You're going to get a little less money for the same house inside the subdivision, right? Makes sense? Isn't it more desirable? Wouldn't you rather live in the subdivision than on the busy street? Every time you back your car out, you gotta watch for traffic.
It was sold for the asking price.
What's that?
It got sold for the asking price.
Yep. What's that got to do with anything?
Oh, really? But they were
It just
not-
means they priced it right,
Oh, okay.
okay? It
So
just means they
it's
priced it right.
It's
The
alley.
value is going to be less on the busy street.
Yeah,
How much? Again, there's not an exact number. If I had to give you a number, I'd say like 20,000. But I can't give you an exact number because
Depends
How
on the buyer.
busy is it? How easy is it to get in and out? There's a lot of variables. If I had to give a number, I'd say somewhere's around $20,000. And it depends on how great is it in the subdivision. How close, I mean, there's a lot of variables. It could be as little as 7 or 8, or it could be 30, depending on if it's really bad or really good, you know? But I'd say somewhere's around 20. Okay, so the curb appeal looks okay. Let's take a look at the house. It's the same size. We already know that. Oh, look, nice hardwood floors. It's got a fireplace. It's dated, but it's okay. Floors look great, open, nice and open. Ah, kitchen, look at the counters.
Yeah.
Dated counters, dated kitchen. So the kitchen is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Kitchen's okay, it's usable and everything, but it's pre-dated. Wallpaper. Does have inside laundry. It's got a patio. Got some grass in the backyard. And this one sold at $529. Negatives were, it looks to me as if it's got an alley access. It's on Glendora Boulevard. Okay? And a lot of times when streets are on a busy street like that, they have alley access because it's actually easier to get in and out of your driveway, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're at $529. Is this house worth as much as the subject property? No?
Very close.
It's getting closer. Okay, another house. This one sold for $538. This one's about the same size, 3 and 2. Once again, I believe this one has alley access. I don't see a garage in the front. It's about the same size.
Railroad tracks.
It's about the same era. Right on the railroad tracks. Right on the tracks. Right? So if it wasn't right on the tracks, it would have sold for more than $538, maybe $548, maybe $558. If it was not, if it was back in the subdivision, not on the railroad tracks. If it's on the railroad tracks, you're gonna have that noise every single day. I know, I live next to the railroad tracks. You get used to it though, it doesn't bother me. But try and tell that to somebody who's never lived there. Okay, let's take a look at that house. It's probably pretty nice inside. Okay, well, it's got, there's your garage. It's over here. It is in the back, and it's got a fence across there. I don't like this. You gotta get out of your car, open it every single day. I would never have one unless it was electric. But some people like it. Oh, look at the nice floors. Now it's got that roof again. It's got that ceiling. Look, see, notice the ceiling? But it's got nice floors. Look like bamboo. Nice front door. Open floor plan. It does have granite. Kitchen's been remodeled, but it's not new. It's been remodeled. They cut that hole in the wall to open it up to the living room a little bit.
Cabinets like ours. That's nice.
That's kind of neat. It's not all, there is some attic in this house, just not over all of it. So that's not as bad. Where's the grass in the backyard?
Concrete jungle.
And the back is all concrete, so there's grass in the front, and it's also fenced in the front, so that may be okay for some people. But part of the house has attic space, part of it does not. It's pretty nice. It's got these plantation shutters cost about $50 a square foot. They're expensive to buy.
Like $500
Okay.
for each window.
Well, let's see, if it's 2 by 4, that's 8 times 50, that's $400. Okay, dual sinks, it's granite. This house has been fixed up fairly nice. Why is it not worth more than our house? Why is it not worth more than subject property?
Guess with the train.
The train is part of it. I think that this roof and not having attic through all of it is part of it. But overall, it's a nice house, and then the rear access. Okay, what's next? Okay, this one's got a pool. How much did we say a pool adds to your value? About 15,000. You know, if it's kind of run down small, maybe 10. If it's really nice, maybe 20. But about 15,000. That pool's probably worth about 15,000. How much does it cost to put that pool in?
67.
60, 70 probably. So is it a good investment to put a pool in your house?
Only for your own.
Only if you want it for your enjoyment. That's correct.
Only what?
If you want it for your own enjoyment, you will not get your value out of it. You spend 50, 60,000 to put a pool in, you'll only sell your house for about 10 or 20,000 more.
Right.
And a lot of people do that, huh?
That's correct. So it does not benefit you to add a pool to a house. It does not help your value. It costs you more to put it in than the value that you get out, right? So, but if it's already got a pool, what are you gonna do? But you're gonna figure that it's worth about $15,000. So if you had two identical houses, one with a pool and one without a pool, the one with the pool would be worth about $15,000 more. And one of the reasons is because it cuts your market in half. Because half the buyers don't want a pool. If your market is bigger, aren't you gonna get more for your property? When you cut that market in half, because it has a pool, you're gonna get less. So, I mean, you might have got 50,000 if everybody in the world wanted a pool. But because half of them don't, you're gonna get a lot less. You still get value for it. And two houses the same, one with a pool is worth about 15,000 more. Could be 20, could be 10, depending on the pool. Okay, so let's take a look at that. What the house? I can see it's got new windows. It's got a pool. It's a little smaller than. It's almost 100 square feet smaller. How much is 100 square feet worth?
Not much.
I don't know. Sometimes not much.
Not.
Okay, what does it sell for per square foot?
300.
370?
Times 100, it's $37,000. Now, is that accurate?
No.
Not 100%, but probably half that. And again, there's not an exact answer. You can't take, because on a huge house, the price per square foot is a lot smaller. And a little small house, the price per square is a lot more, so it's not an exact number. But it definitely has some value. If one's 100 square feet bigger, it is worth more than an identical house 100 square feet smaller, right? And how much? You know, if you would actual dollar per square foot, you'd be 37,000. I don't believe it's 37,000, but it might be 20. So if you add 20,000 for the extra square footage, that puts you at 570. So mine doesn't have a pool, so now I gotta take 15,000 off. You're at 555. Hey, we're getting pretty close, aren't we? Then you just have to determine if the house is really a lot nicer. Some ways it is. Yeah, bathroom's been redone. Sometimes pictures are deceiving. That's another reason why one or two comps don't do the job. You have to have several. Okay, let's take it and look at the next one. Okay, this one sold for $555. It's a little bit smaller, about 50 square feet smaller. Lots comparable, age of the house is comparable. Let's take a look. It's got attic space, you can see that. You can see it's got new windows, concrete driveway. I'm saying all these things so you get used to looking for them. Nice front door, ceiling fans. I don't see any popcorn on the ceilings. It's got carpet, which is not a favorable thing, but it's okay. And the question would be, does it have hardwood under the carpet? Right? That's something you list the house, you need to know the answer to that. It can make a difference in a sale or not. If you got hardwood out here, it's original, and that's original square footage. There's a good chance it does, but it's not guaranteed. You need to know.
What if the seller doesn't know?
I don't ask the seller. I wait till he's not looking. I go to the corner and pull a piece of carpet out. Every time. I went to the garage and I found some pliers in the house just about a week ago in their house. And I went in and pulled the corner up, look up, carpet, put it back down. And I showed him, when I did that, I showed him, come here, take a look. And I showed him, so he sees that I go the extra effort to find out for him. Now you gotta be careful. You can't just go doing that in front of the seller. And you don't want to tear the carpet or hurt anything. You don't want to damage anything. But very honestly, you can find a loose corner, and usually with your fingers, you can pull it up and take a look. Oh, yep, put it right back down. And you know, it won't hurt a thing. Or if you can ask, you ask. If they don't know, you might say, oh, gee, you mind if I pull the corner up? Or sometimes you can look in the closet. There won't be carpet there. You can see there's hardwood there. Okay. Okay, bathrooms have been upgraded. Pool, how much is it? Oh, look at this across the back.
Ooh,
That's nice with a pool. However, remember, is this something, if they have kids and they're thinking maybe a pool, if it's a pool where you walk out the back door and fall in the pool, is not desirable for them. If it's a pool where they can fence it off separately, quite often they're fine with a pool. This one could be done, but may be difficult. It's right behind the back doors. it's an older pool, you can tell because it's got a diving board.
Mm-hmm.
They don't put diving boards in, and the older pools are 10 foot deep, the newer pools are 7 or 8 foot deep. They hold a lot less water. So newer pools are more desirable than older pools. So I would give this one a little less value than I would a newer pool. Newer pool would definitely not have a diving board, because they don't put them in now, right? They just don't do that anymore.
What about it's dangerous?
Dangerous, yeah, safety factor. And the pools are shallower, so they use less water, and so it's even more dangerous to use a diving board.
Right.
Okay, so this one sold at $555. Is this a better house than the subject property? Okay, so take 15,000. That is the old pool. Let's take 10,000 off. So pretend that's 545. We took 10,000 off. So is it a better house?
Yes,
Why?
because of the sliding door in the back and the wooden floor and the swimming pool.
No, we took off the swimming pool. We got
Yeah,
it.
we did.
And the subject property has wood floors under the carpet, remember?
It's renovated.
It's a little more renovated,
And it's on the tracks.
and it's on the railroad tracks. So we'll give it 20 grand for being renovated and take 20 grand back off for being on the tracks. We're back to 545, are we not? So it's worth a little bit less than subject property, if subject property is worth asking price. And by the way, I sold it for asking price, so it is. Anyhow, it went into escrow again today. I'll tell you about that later. Okay, so remember, we were thinking this house is worth more because it's renovated, right? And then we look a little closer and see the tracks right there, right? Sometimes if it's right across the street from a high school. Sometimes if it's right across the street from an elementary school, which is worse?
High school.
High school, more
Kids
traffic.
driving, right?
More traffic.
Yep. Elementary school is not as bad. They can use the playground. They may not be so bad. High school maybe. And there's no magic to this. It's thinking through each one of them, right? Thinking through. All right, let's take a look at the next one. This one sold for $580. It's not on the tracks. Let's see. It is slightly smaller, about 60 square feet smaller. Same bedrooms and bath, lots about the same. Years about the vintage is about the same. It happened to sell in 4 days. Let's take a look at this house. Oh, it's got a pool, so we took that. Let's see. Pool is pretty good size. It's right outside the door, but it is pretty good size. It looks clean. I don't see it. Oh, there's a diving board right there. I'd say that pool's worth at least 10 grand. So let's just call it 10 for now. It may be worth a little more, but let's just call it 10 for now. So it was 580, so we take 10 off. So now we're at 570 if it didn't have a pool, right? Oh, this is builder quality stuff. Builder quality stuff. Not bad. I'm just saying it's basic. Again, the other bathroom, same way. Oh, what is this? What does that tell you?
Solar.
Yeah. What's good or bad about solar?
But
Contract,
What kind of contract do they have? We'll talk about that in just a second.
zero.
Okay, the bath, it's really carpet. It's really
Original carpet too.
not,
The green and the burgundy.
it's really not much different on the inside than the subject property, is it? It's very close. Okay, subject property's got new windows. All right, let's see what we can find out about those solar panels. Solar panels can be a positive, but usually they're a negative. Because most people have bad contracts. Most people said, no money down, put the solar panels on, I'll sign a 20-year contract, thinking that it's going to cost them nothing because they're going to save money on electricity. You know, not that I'm anti-green, because I'm not, but at this point, from a financial standpoint, I do not believe solar is financially beneficial. Generally speaking, I believe that in a few years, as it gets better, it will be financially beneficial. Is it beneficial if you want it for the green aspect and maybe save a little money? Yeah, that's fine. But if you're looking at it from a financial standpoint, I do not believe it's a good investment now. What they'll do if they put it on for free, one of two things. One, if it's a hero program, the vendor will charge you about twice as much as the solar panels are worth, because people don't care because it's nothing out of pocket, right? they'll charge you about twice as much as the solar panels are worth. And they'll say, gee, they're just gonna add a little bit to your taxes every year. In fact, you won't even see that for about a year. And that's right. And then a year later, you find out there's $350 added to your taxes per month. And then you realize, but my electric bill is not quite that much. And guess what? Then you gotta sell your house. And whoever buys it has to take over the contract. So you have to find a buyer who wants the solar, who's willing to take on a $350 a month liability, right? That's the HERO program. But let's say, okay, fine, I'll just pay it off, then I'll sell my house. Well, then they charge you a 10% prepayment penalty.
Yes.
And our government endorses this stuff. There's other programs where they'll put them on for free, but you have to agree to buy power from them for the next 20 years at a certain rate. And their rate's usually at about the same as the standard rate. Remember, you have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 in your electric bills, and tier 1 is if you use this, the least that you can use. Your rate will be that. And they'll tell you, gee, you know, whenever you get tier 2 and tier 3, you'd be saving money, and as the years go by, the prices are going to go up, but yours won't. But then you've signed a contract to buy power from them for 20 years at this price. Okay, and that's better than the other one, but it's still not wonderful. And then, if you go in and pay cash, you can get a good price on the solar panels, and you can get a true savings. So, if you're buying them, and you pay for them, rather than doing one of the plans. Remember, anybody's gonna give you money, somehow they're charging you for it. Every single time. No free lunch, as they say. They're getting their money someplace. Every single time. So if you ever look into solar panels, I'm not saying don't do it, I'm saying know exactly what you're getting into. And I think over the next 4 or 5 years, I think that the deals are going to get much better, and I think that the government's going to find out what they're endorsing and stop. HERO program's terrible. They really, it counts as a tax lien. Even if you file bankruptcy, you don't get rid of it. It's a tax lien. Okay, so this house is at 580. Now if you go back and let's take a look at them. Remember the subject property? It's certainly better than these first two. I think everybody would agree on that. That's a no-brainer. Let's go to the third one. Is it better than this house? This house sold at 505. It's not on the tracks. It's a little bit bigger. But as I recall, it was pretty. Oh, it doesn't have the attic. Remember, this one doesn't have an attic. That's probably 20 grand. You know, this is okay. Basic. It's got hardware like ours does. It does not have new windows. I think our house is better than this one, wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. So now we know our house is worth more than 505, and it's worth less than 580. Remember the one at 580, the best one? A lot less than 580, because remember we got to take off that pool. So that now that 580 house is really 570, 565. So it's worth more than that. Now, is it worth more than this house? I think so. This house got some nice things, but it's got some old stuff too. In fact, older than ours. Wallpaper. This is okay. So, go back to Agent One line, and let me see, just to limit it, I'm gonna get rid of the highest one because we know it's not as good as that, and I'm gonna get rid of the lowest one, right? And I'm gonna get rid of those, discard those. So now we're saying it's worth more than, in fact, I can get rid of this one too, because we know it's worth more than that, a lot more. Let's get rid of that one. So now we're saying, gee, it's probably worth somewhere between 525 and 555. And then you take a closer look and you see where it really fits in. And again, remember I told you that I listed it at 549.9 and I sold it for 550 and I had multiple offers at 550, and I actually have an appraisal at 550. So it is worth 550 based on all that. So how do we make a CMA out of this? Now, I happen to know that. It's a little harder if you don't, and sometimes I may even have to go to these neighborhoods and stand in front of the house. Does my house feel better than this one? And then add that to your input that you're seeing right here. I've done that many times. I've driven out to all the comps and stood, how's this neighborhood feel? And sometimes that tells me why one's a lot higher. Sometimes it's hard to see, this one sold for $550, this one $525, what's the difference? I can't tell. Go stand in front of the house and some, oh, now I know. The more you do, the better off the more accurate you're gonna be. But it's gonna sell for what market value is, because that's what's gonna drive the market. Customers are gonna come in with market value, and some are gonna come in really low and you're not gonna accept the offer, and some are gonna come in really high and it's not gonna appraise out, but it's gonna sell for market value. So we check this top box, which highlights all of them, right? And then let's come back over here to actions, see actions. Now let's go over here to Cloud CMA. Cloud CMA, client's name. Okay, put the client's name, Mr. and Mrs. Bill Smith, whatever the client's name is. Property address is 1674, let's see, okay, Ruddick.
It's right there.
Okay, picture, choose a file. Let's go to the desktop. Let's look at Ruddick. Open. This is it. Well, that's not good. These are all the pictures of it. So I guess we'll go now. So let's go with this one. Hopefully that's the right picture. Residential picture. How many square feet was it? 1576, I think. Except for, okay, so it's 3 and 2. So I put in all that information, right? And then I come down here and it says, automatically find listings near subject property. Bzz, no, don't do that. I promise it'll put mobile homes, condos, all kinds of stuff. Never, ever, 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 never ever use this automatically find comps. Don't do it. Not even once. Not even for, I mean, it's useless. In fact, it's worse because it'll deceive you into believing some other value. So, or you put the listings in here. Oh, they're already here. Because I checked the box, I went to Cloud CMA, it automatically puts them right there. These are the listings, the ones that I want to use. And then I hit, everybody with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
I hit fetch listings. And it's going to pull those listings into our CMA.
So you don't put in the additional information on the subject property?
Like what?
If you click additional information, it asks you for more stuff.
Yeah, I could. I usually don't, because they're going to see that they're going
Okay.
to, photo size, that's bad.
It's too big.
Okay, let me try this again. Okay, we'll see. Residential, so it's all there. Now I'm going to hit fetch listings and see what happens. It seems to be working. Oh, here we are. Yeah, should we put a suggested list price? You may have never been in this house before. So how are you going to put a suggested list price? You already know about what's, you know it's worth between here and here. You know probably it's worth between 540 and 560 from the pictures we looked at. Right? So I would put a price range, and I wouldn't put it too high because that makes people, whatever you put the highest numbers, they think it's worth that.
Yep.
So you gotta be careful with that. But you don't want to insult them either by putting something too low. Usually, but if you're afraid to stick your neck out, they think, yeah, he's a wimp. So if I really don't know, I'll put about a $30,000 spread. If I have a good idea, I'll put a $20,000 spread. So on here, let's just come in here and put 440 I'm sorry, it's not 440, it's 540. 560. I'll put a $20,000 range and update. And you can actually come in here and do a net sheet. I don't use this for net sheet. You saw what I used for net sheet before, so I'll just skip that part. And then I will go to customize. And here, you can tell it, do you want it? If you want it in your report, it's over here. If you don't want it in your report, it's over here. Okay, so you can choose what you want in your report. And then once you do that, it's always there. And so I almost always just use what's already here because that's what I like to use. All these other things over here, you know, are there. I can, if you hit the plus button, it moves them over. And hit the minus button here, it brings them back. So you can put whatever you want there. Okay? And then you can come over here, headlines, comparative marketing analysis. It's in English. I use black and gold theme because it fits our colors with Realty One, but you can use other colors. The layout shows 2 photos up front. If you get this stuff down here, they charge you extra. In my opinion, you don't need to pay extra. I think it comes out good enough as it is. Okay, once we pick all the forms that we want, I like this intelligent pricing. I like all these things. You'll see what they are when I open it up. Client testimonials, you may not have those, so you may take that off. But again, it's just a matter of hitting the minus and it goes over here. And then plus you can grab them and move them. Put them in any order that you want. Just grab them and move them. And there should be a logical sequence. And then we hit publish. And it thinks about it for a minute. And it saves all of them. Look at all these I've got in here. Pages and pages of them for what I've done before. Who's this? I recognize that name someplace. David Evelyn Gasco. I just sold their condo. Let's take, come on. Still thinking. It takes a minute to put it together because it's got to draw in all the listing from the MLS. Yes, ma'am.
If we're gonna keep practicing, is there a way to get rid of them afterwards?
I don't know. Oh yeah, a little trash can next to it right there.
Okay,
For practice ones, you want to get rid of them, but otherwise, for real clients, I like to keep them.
right.
Yeah, but somebody maybe want to, 2 or 3, 4 years later, want to see what it's worth now, and you can kind of look back what you had, and oh yeah, you're up $100,000. Okay, there's a couple different ways to look at it, including under view, under present, and there's a big difference. I use view, and I'll show you the difference. Let's look at view. Oh, there's the picture of the house. Prepared for whoever's name it is on this date with the address, personal, right? Their house, their name, and it's current. That's the first page, right? That's when it opens up. They say, and I don't let them see this until I get there to my listing presentation. I go through this with them, and when I finish going through it with them, I immediately email it to that client. So now they've got it in their email. Okay, let's go ahead and look down a little bit. Okay, I appreciate the opportunity to share my business plan. You know, I always tell them when I'm talking to them, you get the first several pages of just serious propaganda. They can look at that later because I'm not going to read it to them. And that tells a little bit about me, that I have a real brick and mortar office and where it's at, my contact information and such. Then it's got a little bit more information about me, and I use a tagline, your neighborhood realtor, and all this information I've filled in here previously. What's a CMA? It tells what there's a marketing analysis and how do we create it and how accurate is it and so on and so forth. Then this next map, it shows where all the comparable properties are. That's the subject property right there, and here's the comparables that we use. And quite often, oh, I know that house. They'll recognize it. I remember seeing that for sale sign out there. They live in a neighborhood, right? So they'll know that it's very real. And then it's got a list of the properties that you use. Now you can put actives or pendings in there if you want. I don't ever put pendings in there. Why? Because it doesn't tell you anything. You don't know what it ever ends up selling for. It's just like the price as if it were active. Because when it's active and pending, the price is always the same. It doesn't change until it closes. So remember, I told you before that if I have a very educated client that listens to me, I might give him a few actives so he knows what our competition is. But if they're not educated, they don't listen to me, they're going to gravitate towards the highest active price on there. And remember, they can list it for $1 million if they want to, right? So if they understand the difference between an active and a sold and why one may be way off in value, you can put a few actives in there to give them more information. if I'm in doubt, I always just put sold. I look at the actives myself, so I know what the competition is, but I just put sold in most of my CMAs. But again, sometimes I've got an educated, buyer that listens and understands about market value, and I'll put actives in there. So this is just kind of a listing by price and that they're sold. And then this one's got a little bit more information about the property, beds and baths, and year built, and so on. If something's built in the turn of the century, is it worth more or less than a current house of the same size in the same neighborhood? Might be worth a lot more if it's restored to the antique value, or it might be a lot less if it's got old electric and it's run down. Just things to think about. Square footage, size. These different charts give you different ways of looking at the comparables. Now it's going to go through each comp. And you can put them in any order that you want, by the way. I didn't choose to take the time to do that, but you can put them, I usually put them lowest price to highest price. Better than this one, better than this one, better, oh, it's about the same as that, oh, it's not as good as that. But you can put them in any order that you want. And it goes through and shows all the pictures and the description and the price and all these things, and then go through all this stuff and see it. Oh yeah, it's got the pool, see the diving board. You can tell them about the, that diving board kind of signifies that it's probably an older pool. And the next one, oh, you can see the new windows and blah, blah, blah. You can kind of walk through it. And you get to the end of the pictures. And you don't want to use too many because I usually like 4 to 6 comps on this, because otherwise there's so many to look through. But you need at least 4. And I usually like 6 to determine value, 6 or 8 to determine value, but 4 or 5 or 6 on an MLS, on the CMA. Then you see these are all the houses that we looked at before, and then after we get past the houses, we got this analysis. This is list price versus sold price. This one sold about the same. This one it sold for more than list price, more than list price, a little bit less, and less than list price. And this is how quickly they sold. Generally, you'll see the ones that have been in the market the longest started higher in price and came down. When they're on the market too long, quite often it's because almost always it's because they start at overpriced. And remember, that's the worst thing you can possibly do is overprice your listing. Because I can always bring the price down. Yeah, you can, but by the time you do, it's a stale listing. It's old stuff. You want that listing to go at the right price. This much below market value. If I want 510, I'm going to list it for $499.9 every single time, so I can get those buyers in there. They're searching between $450 and $500. If I get them in the door, they can stretch their budget 10 grand. If I don't get them in the door, I've lost them. You hear me say some of these same things over and over because it works and it makes a difference. Yes, sir.
So like you see a house on the market that's been on the market for 160 days, it's obviously too high.
9 times out of 10 is overpriced. That's correct. And it may be because of condition, it may be because they just priced it too high. And whose fault is that?
The owner.
Why? He's not an expert in real estate. You are.
Oh, that's right.
It's our job
It's us.
to do a good job at showing the owner of the house what the true market value is. Now, we did this off the cuff. But if I was doing this for a client, I would have driven to these houses, I would have looked at them, I would have had more information, and I would have been able to show him, yeah, your house is better than this, it's better than this. It's about the same as this, and it's not quite as good as that, so it's worth between here and here.
Well, that's a good thing to do when they say to you that they have another agent saying that their house is worth more.
I always tell them, there will be agents that will come in here and tell you their house is worth more, but I like to sleep at night. I tell my clients the truth every single time. And very honestly, I'd rather not get your listing than lie to you. And that's true. And I can say it passionately because I've done it and I mean it. I'm going to give them my very honest opinion of what I believe I can sell that house for. And sometimes I don't get it. Most of the time I do. But I tell them that. I tell them. Other agents will come and tell you, because I don't know if they've been there or not maybe. And I say that. Other agents will tell you they can get more for your house. So they can get the listing. But this is the truth. And guess what? The house is going to bring what the house is going to bring, as long as you market effectively. And when the offers start coming in, we'll see right where they're targeting. We'll know. but I truly believe it's gonna come in at this. And I'd love to tell you it's gonna come in at that, but I just really don't think it is. Does that make sense to you? Let's list it at this. Okay,
And that's true whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market?
well, we haven't seen a buyer's market for a long, long time. Market value is still market value, but remember, prices are declining in that case. Right now, they're increasing. So, you know, you might list it a little bit lower if it is in a different market. Yeah, it would have to change. It's basically the same, but would go slightly lower if it became a buyer's market, and
I mean slightly lower than the market value?
possibly, depending on how fast the market value is changing. Remember, I price them right now just slightly below market value, just slightly.
Okay,
Okay, and if the market were different, I might price them just a little bit more,
oh, okay,
a little bit.
okay. That was
Okay,
good.
again, you see days in the market, average is 42. And you see these prices per square foot, well, that one's a lot less for some reason. Okay, now this is an important one. I would suggest you have this document on every one of your CMAs, because 9 out of 10 of your customers, when you go to do a listing appointment, they're going to say, "But Zillow said." Well, great, look at this. Zillow said this house was worth $570. Look what it sold for. Zillow said this house was worth only $477, but it sold for a lot more. This one was sold for a little more.
That's good.
Zillow, Mr. Zillow has never ever been in that house. Did you invite him in?
So that's what it means,
So
the
was-
estimate?
Zestimate is what Zillow valued the house at.
Really?
That's correct. So what I'm telling you is this is a great form to have, because as soon as they say Zillow says, you're right, and sometimes they're right. Very honestly, Zillow can give you an idea of what the neighborhood is worth, but it's never been in your house. All it's going to do is take all the houses that sold recently, divide it by the square footage, and then multiply it times the square footage of your house. It doesn't know if you got solid gold countertops or if you got old plywood countertops. It has no idea, unless you invited Mr. Zillow to your house, and I haven't. And you can show them this. In this particular case, it was off in every case. I mean, 2% off is a lot. 7% is a whole lot to be off on a house. So, this is an important form to use. Okay, and then it goes into how you price a house and how fast it sells and so on and so forth. Good information. I use this one, this little bubble. And I tell people, if you overprice your house, you can always come down. But remember, you price it way up here, you have this big bubble of people coming your first couple weeks. Lots of people coming. After you pass that bubble, you only got the new people coming on the market. You're gonna sell it for more money if you have that many people looking, or if you have that many people looking. If you overprice it, you're gonna get out to this point someplace, and you only have the new people coming on the market looking. I like to use this diagram and explain that when I'm doing it. Okay, value of a home. Every home is different. This tells them a little bit about that. Bedrooms and bath and features and curb appeal and a variety of other things. Oh, and yes, I've got guts. I feel, before I got here, before I saw your house, I felt this we're somewhere between 540 and 560. And very honestly, now that I've seen it and we've looked at these comps, it's probably worth about 550. Does that make sense? Closing question. Shut up. Okay, and then it's got space for active listings if you wanted to use them. The low price, the median, the average, and the high, right, of the comps that we looked at. This tells them what I want to do the first week to market their house, first weekend, second week, ongoing activities. Why do you need a real estate agent? That's what I talked about to the Chamber of Commerce yesterday. Why do you need an agent anyway? It's easy to sell a house. Now there's 4 buyers for every house for sale. That's true. Why not sell it yourself? Well, first, because you can't get it on the MLS. And the MLS is what draws the most people to your house. That's the first thing. Secondly, do you know an escrow company and a title company? And do you know who pays for what or you know what the true market value of your house is, or do you have any insurance in case there's a legal issue, or a whole variety of items. Yeah, you need an agent. And it's pretty easy to show. Then you can talk about where the commission goes, because they think you're gonna get all this money. Well, first off, whatever you charge, you're gonna give away half of it. If I charge 5%, 2.5% is gonna go to the agent who brought the buyer. Other 2.5% is gonna go to my broker, and then I'm gonna get about 92% of that. Right? And I'm not afraid to tell people that. Open house checklist. This talks about getting their house ready. People always say, what should we do to make the house ready? Rarely do I tell them to spend a lot of money. What I do tell everybody, and I say it like this, I say, listen, everybody that's lived in a house more than a year or so has too much clutter. And I don't want them to feel bad. Everybody has too much clutter. First thing you need to do is pack up half of your stuff, because you're moving anyway, right? You know, everything on the counter, keep the stuff you use every day. The rest of it, pack it. Any personal information, like where your child goes to school, sports teams he plays on, we don't know who might see that. Take it down. Any loose jewelry, prescription drugs, before the open house, lock them up. Take them away. People aren't going to come in and steal your TV. They're going to come in and they're going to take the prescription drugs, cash, or jewelry. If I see that the kitchen's a mess, I'll wait till people leave and I'll clean it up a little bit. I've cleaned up a lot of houses. I've swept a lot of floors. I've done a lot of running around real quick to get the house ready. Because you can't always tell, it's not always easy to tell people they have a dirty house, they should clean it. You can imply that, hey, let's get this place prepped for sale, declutter, normal cleanup is fine. You don't need to spend tons of money remodeling your kitchen, because you can put 10 grand in your kitchen, you only get 10 more back on the sale. I'm not sure that it's worth it to spend the time and the money and just get the same money back. I'm not sure it's worth it. So rarely do I tell them to go spend money, and they like hearing that, but they need to declutter. That's the biggest thing they can do. Sometimes they need to change carpet or do a little painting, but rarely do I have them do much more than that. And any dogs and cats and stuff, the day of the open house, they need to be gone, along with their dog bowls and dog beds and those kinds of things. That's all right here. And then I've got all my client testimonials. These are all people, testimonials about me that people put on Zillow. And I've got those here. So, now, we said that there's two ways to look at this. You can look at it through the view mode like we just did, or you can go to the present mode. And it looks a little different. For some reason, and I wish I could tell you why, the picture of the house doesn't show up. It's just not there. I've not found anybody give me an answer as to why, but it just is. Okay, and then this way you can just go like this, swipe across it. There's your map. Sold listings. You know, recent home sales, the best indicator what your home's worth. There's the first one. More pictures of it. The next one. And you can scroll, you can hit down to see other pictures. Next one. So you see the charts and graph. It's just a different look. And if you want to, it's quite often if you have an iPad and you want to use this mode, you can kind of scroll through and show people things. It's got basically the same information as the other one. You know, point of the story is there's two ways that you can do it. Now, quite often what I will do is I will have this open, and I'll come back here and I'll have this open, so I can I'll go through the CMA until I get to the listings, and I always find it much easier to look at the listings here in the regular MLS search than it is in your CMA. So I'll have both of them open before I get there. Right? So when I get to the CMA, when I'm going to start showing the listings, I can jump right over here to the search and just go through them that way, because I feel more comfortable doing it that way. But still got the CMA right there. View, present. You can eat. So when you're sitting there and you finish going over with the client, you just open it up and email it to them, and now they've got it. That's simple. And from there, I go into my 10 things I did to get your house sold. And that's my listing appointment. And, you know, as I finish up, does that all sound good? Great, let's get this thing listed. And then we start talking about when we're gonna do the open house and so on and so forth. So, how do you do this? You come in and you search for properties. You find the properties that are closest to the subject property, 4, 5, 6 of them. You highlight them all. You come down to Cloud CMA
To the right.
right here. Put your name in. Now in here, you can write any notes you want to. The client will not see them. Maybe you just want something to remind yourself of something about that client. The client will not get that part. It's just for you. Your address. We talked about choosing the photo, description of the house. The listings are there. You fetch the listings. You put it. You choose which forms you want to use. You finish it. Takes about 2 minutes. It puts it all together. It's done. You can actually search for listings and do this in 10 minutes. But remember, if you want to do a good job, you may want to take those comps and go out and drive to them. You can't go in because somebody else has already bought that house. But you can drive. You can look at the pictures. Bring your laptop or your iPad along. Look at the pictures and stand in the front yard, and you may get a whole different feel for that house. Okay, and I'm telling you, I've been very confused on values of property. I've gone out and done that, and when I come back, I'm much clearer on the value. I do that, I come back, and then I choose the listings I want in my CMA and create the CMA. So the point is, the story is, you can make a beautiful CMA in just minutes. It looks like it took you hours to do this. The client knows you put a lot of time and effort into doing this work for him, right? That's one of the first ways you're going to tie him to you. And then when you go over the 10 things you do to sell houses, and you got a written plan as to what you do, this justifies the price of the house. The 10 things justifies the percentage of commission you charge, right? And I don't hide either one now. Again, in this market, I charge 5%, and I get away half of it every single time. If it were much harder to sell houses, a big buyer's market, I might have to charge 6%. I don't know. Right now, I feel that 5% is fine. I feel that anybody charges 4%, they can only give away a maximum of 2% to encourage other agents to come. And most agents will show a 2, but some won't. Right? And at 2%, can you really do all the work necessary to promote the house properly? Now you think, yeah, look at all that money. Remember, you're paying dues every month, MLS expenses, the sign that goes out, all the flyers, and you are at risk. Every time you list a house, you put yourself at risk. You put your license at risk. So, the point of the story is, make yourself worth that 5 or 6%. Make yourself worth it. Don't give yourself away. Don't be like some of these agents that advertise, oh, 1% will sell your house. Well, they really won't, because they're going to charge you 1% for them, and then they're going to take 2% for the seller and charge you 3%, and they're going to do nothing except put it on the MLS. Charge 5 or 6% and make yourself worth it.
That's a good thing you said about all the things that we need to pay, because when they say, oh, but you're gonna get this much money and things like that. And
Yep.
I didn't think about what you just said, because I'm like, I don't know what to say, Yeah, that's true, that's a lot of money, like they seen it at that point, but they don't know how we have to invest.
Well, when you start keeping track of your expenses, I had more than $40,000 in expenses to sell my 21 houses last year. More than $40,000 in expenses. As you start to track that, it gets a whole lot easier to describe that it costs you money to do business. And remember, all the people that you are working with that you never sell a house, all that time is gone. See, there's a lot of things that we do that has to come out of that
Is
commission.
it legal we charge them some money up front? I mean, because it's not fair, you work for a long while and then they cancel on you. And you had already,
There's only one fair, and that's in Pomona. It doesn't matter if it's fair or not. We're in business. There's cost and risk in doing business. And you evaluate that client. When you're taking that listing, you don't have a good feeling about it, don't take the listing.
And when you're driving buyers around, showing them houses, and they suddenly decide to wait.
Guess what? The better buyer orientation you do, the less often that will happen. I'm telling you, buyer orientation is extremely valuable. You set the stage for success, and you learn about them, and they learn about you. And if you do a good buyer orientation, you're much less likely to show buyers a bunch of houses than, oh, I'm gonna wait 6 months or a year. That rarely ever happens if you did a good buyer orientation. Can it? Yes, and that's the risk of doing business. No, you can't charge, well, I don't know if it's illegal or not, but I've never heard of anybody that was legit, that was charging people up front.
There's a form, Jerry, that we have.
I believe you, I'm not gonna do it.
For buyers.
I believe you, I'm not gonna do
And it
it.
says that if they cancel, you were gonna charge whatever that fee is.
You ever seen anybody use one?
I haven't.
I haven't either, and I'm not going to. There's a risk in doing business. There just is. I listed a house and the girl's mother died. She called and said, I can't sell my house right now. I took the sign down, postponed the listing. 4 years ago, last week I heard from her. She's ready to list her house as soon as they get some work done in the garage. So guess what? You can try and force them into doing something, or you can take good care of them and they'll come back to you. That's my opinion. And again, certain things are facts, certain things are Jerry's opinion. That's my opinion. And that's the way I try and do business. And for me, being passionate with everybody you meet and trying to help them as much as you can, you're going to keep most of them. You really are. All right, guys, we're out of time. The next 2 weeks, Jerry's going to be in Hawaii, just thinking nothing but about you guys, I'm sure. If you can go to one another for help and for confidence building and boosting. You can call Kathy, you can call Jaime. They want to help you just the same as I do. Okay? If Jaime decides he's going to do a class next week or the week after, I will send you an email tomorrow or Friday. I don't know that he's going to do that. I hope he does. I'd like to have him in here talking to you guys one evening and just hear his perspective about the company and about real estate and about doing business. I'd like to have that happen if I can make that happen. Or Grant coming in talking about the website or the database. But I don't know that those are going to happen. So the next 2 weeks I will not be here. Hopefully before we leave we'll have last week and maybe this week posted online. You know, if you go to my webpage, my webpage is gone someplace. I lost it. Anyhow, you know, if you go to Jerry Garner 411 and you go to more, it's got the past weeks. It's got week 2 and week 3 right now. Hopefully week 4 and week 5 will be posted. This is week 5 before we leave, so you can go back and review or whatnot. But I won't be here. But don't be afraid to call Kathy or Jaime. They will help you. That's one reason I want to be at this office. I've RE/MAX for 5.5 years, and I get so much more help here. And I call Jaime all the time with questions. If in doubt, I don't know if he's smarter or if I'm smarter, but the two of us together are smarter than either one of us, right? So talk to somebody if you don't know what to do. She calls me all the time, and I know she knows the answer, but she wants to make sure. And that's fine. That's fine. I do the same thing with Jaime or Kathy. Don't be afraid to call them. They want you to be successful just as much as I do. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you, not next week, not the week after, but the week after that. And remember, don't let this slow you down.